Okay, let's talk about the future of your medical scans. And I'm not just talking about getting clearer pictures, this is a complete reimagination of what healthcare can be.
When you think about it, most of the time you get an X-ray or a CT scan, it's because something's already a problem, right? We're looking for a broken bone, a blockage, some issue that's already there. It's totally reactive.
But here's the big question, the one that's changing everything. What if that same exact scan could see into your future? Not like a crystal ball, of course, but what if it could spot tiny patterns to predict your risk for a disease, giving your doctor the chance to stop it before it even starts? Well, that's exactly where we're going.
All right, so let's dive into this first big idea, how imaging is moving from just finding problems to actually predicting them.
This quote here, it's huge. It really gets to this massive shift in how we think about this stuff. The radiology department, it's not just the place you go to get pictures taken anymore. It's becoming like the intelligence hub of the entire hospital. It's where all the data, your scans, your labs, your history, all comes together to paint this incredibly detailed and predictive picture of your health.
And this is a great way to look at it. We're in this massive transition, moving from just responding to disease to actually anticipating it. Think about it. It's like the difference between showing up after a fire has already started versus having a system that tells you exactly where a fire is most likely to break out. It lets us get ahead of the problem.
So how is all this even possible? Well, it really comes down to two key technologies working together, AI and the cloud. These two are basically the engine driving this whole new era.
Okay, so first up is the cloud. Think of it as the superhighway that all this medical imaging data travels on. It's what makes it possible for a specialist, say, in New York, to look at your scans in real time and work with a doctor in California. It just connects everything and everyone, instantly.
But, just having all that data connected on a superhighway isn't enough. That's just step one. The real magic, the breakthrough, happens when we can actually understand what all that data means. So if the cloud is the backbone, AI, well, AI is the brain. It's the intelligence that finds the hidden patterns in all that information.
And this is leading to something called agentic AI. Now, this is really important. This is not about replacing doctors. It's about giving them an incredibly smart assistant that never gets tired. This AI can handle all the annoying logistical stuff. The referrals, the scheduling, fighting with insurance companies, all of that, so the actual human experts can focus 100% of their attention on you, the patient. Okay, so that's the tech, but what about us? What does this actually mean for the patient experience? How does all this fancy tech actually change what it feels like when you go to the doctor?
Well, the whole experience is being redesigned with you in mind. Scanners, they're becoming way more open, less claustrophobic. The scans themselves are getting faster, and new AI can even correct for movement so you don't have to stay perfectly still. We're even seeing mobile CT and MRI units that bring the technology to you. And maybe one of the biggest things? You get your results through patient portals in plain English you can actually understand.
So what this really boils down to is a win-win. It's a huge shift. We get empowered with information we can actually use, and our doctors get empowered with these incredible new insights to take even better care of us. Okay, so we have all this amazing new technology, all this incredible power, but that means we have to talk about something really, really important. We can't discuss the future of imaging without talking about safety. It is absolutely non-negotiable. Look, X-rays and CT scans are miracle technologies, right? But they use a very powerful tool, and it has to be managed with extreme care and precision. Safety isn't some add-on, it's baked into the very foundation of how this is all supposed to work. So the way these scans let us see inside our bodies is with something called ionizing radiation. It's a type of energy. And while it's what makes the whole thing work, the number one rule is always to use the absolute minimum dose necessary. Just enough to get the picture they need, and not a bit more. It's all about keeping you safe. So who's in charge of making sure everything's safe? Well, in the US, it's not just one group. You've got multiple agencies working in concert. The FDA, for example, they're the ones regulating the machines themselves. Then you have the NRC looking after radioactive materials. The EPA setting limits. It's a whole system of checks and balances designed to protect patients.
And in the real world, what does that actually look like? Well, you've probably had to wear one of those heavy lead aprons, right? That's part of it. But there's so much more happening behind the scenes. Technicians are using smart software to tailor the scan specifically for your body type. They're watching the radiation dose live, and more, they're having a conversation with you about the whole process.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is where our two main threats, this push for smarter, predictive imaging and the absolute need for safety, they come together. Because you might think they're opposing forces, but they're not. They're actually helping each other move forward.
So that leads to a really important question. Can all this new AI and tech that's so good at predicting disease also make the scans themselves safer?
And the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Absolutely. The same smart tech is a game changer for safety. We have these advanced algorithms now that can create a perfect, clear image using way less radiation. And the scanners themselves are getting smarter, adjusting the dose on the fly depending on which part of your body they're scanning.
I mean, just look at this number, 50%. Some of these new software algorithms can cut the radiation dose by half or even more, and they do it without losing any of the image quality. That is a gigantic leap forward for patient safety, and it's all thanks to this new technology. And this really brings us to the final, most important takeaway. The tech isn't replacing the doctors, it's giving them superpowers. The role of the radiologist is changing. They're not just writing up a report of what they see anymore, they're becoming proactive care architects. They're using these amazing tools to design a long-term health plan for you.
So that's the big idea I want to leave you with. This isn't science fiction, this isn't decades away, this is happening right now. So the real question for all of us is, what's it going to be like when your doctor can not only diagnose what's wrong with you, but can actually predict your health and keep you well from the start?